Chapter 1161. A stay-at-home dad was indeed handsome. Actually, when everyone first saw Black Eagle, they thought he was a scary person. Now, to outsiders, he was probably still a scary person. However, in their eyes, Black Eagle was very different from what they thought he was like. He was a weird person whose thoughts no one knew. He was a weird youth who did not say much but was very overbearing. That was a little too different compared to the others. Some people thought he was so weird that they found him cute. Other people were speechless about him. But this headstrong bandit made everyone think he was weird. Why was he so good at robbing others? Furthermore, he spent way too much money, which made things easily exaggerated. Lin Che exclaimed, "What? You chased them all away?" Black Eagle replied, "Isn't it safer?" Lin Che wanted to remind him, after alighting from the naval vessel, just now that the pedestrians' expressions were already in great shock. How much longer did he want to behave so exaggeratedly? Lin Che really wanted to say she could not tolerate it anymore and wanted to go home, so he could do anything he wanted with Gu Jingze looked around and said, "Forget it. Since they're already gone, let's stay here." Black Eagle said, "This hotel is really not bad. It's right next to the sea. You'll see it in a while. Let's go inside." This was reserved by Black Eagle after all, so the hotel was indeed humongous, which was very good. They entered a two-story villa. The rooms were split accordingly, Lin Che and Gu Jingze, and the children, and Black Eagle alone. Black Eagle still had some talent in this area. He let Lin Che and Gu Jingze stay further away while he stayed in the room right next to At the door, he was still smiling and saying, "You two make too much noise. We will stay further away from you." Lin Che rolled her eyes and thought, "Isn't it because you're worried we might play gooseberry and ruin things for you?" Naturally, Lin Che and Gu Jingze would not really disturb them. The people here had already tidied up the place. Lin Che used a baby carrier to carry the child in her arms. Upon seeing it, Gu Jingze walked over and said to Lin Che, "Let me do it." Lin Che looked at him in shock. "You are going to carry this?" She really could not imagine how Gu Jingze would look like carrying this. Lin Che replied, never mind, let me carry her." "It's alright," Gu Jingze said, pulling the back strap over. Lin Che laughed and said to him, "When you wear this thing, you won't look all that glamorous. It'll affect your mighty image." Gu Jingze shot her a look. "Shut up." He looked down at the child in his arms and said, "It's no big deal. She is my child. If I don't carry her, then who will? I know I have a mighty image, but it's not for others to see." He lowered his head and gently nibbled Lin Che's ear. "Only you need to know if I'm mighty or not." Lin Che's ear was now red because of him. She stretched out her arm and pushed him. "Go away." Gu Jingze smiled and carried the child on him. Lin Che was really in a spot. She thought that this really did not suit him. Such a tall man was wearing a pink baby carrier. It was simply she thought that it was troubling him too much. For President Gu to wear such a thing, she felt bad for him. But Gu Jingze already said that he did not care. Some men would avoid babies and anything related to them, but he was so proactive and calm towards this matter. She smiled and looked at him. Never mind, since he did not feel that it was bad, he could give it a try. She helped him loosen the straps and stabilize the back. Because he was so tall and his shoulders were very broad, she had to loosen the straps to the maximum length. It was finally done. He supported the child's head with one hand. He was extremely gentle and his posture was very professional too. Ever since the child was born, he had never shunned her away. He would carry the baby every day, so these actions were not unfamiliar to him. Looking at him stand there, Lin Che saw something she had never imagined before. How dashing! Was it really because he was good-looking, so he would look good no matter what? She thought that such a pinkish carrier would affect his handsomeness, but it did not at all. On the contrary, it did not make him look weird. It added a new kind of charm to him. Like a stay-at-home dad rushing straight to one's line of vision. He stood tall as he carried the baby. The little baby looked even tinier against his large body. He was soft and limp, making his father look extra mighty and tall. Everyone who saw him could not help but envy the baby get safely carried in his arms. They thought that this child was safe and secure beyond anyone else. Gu Jingze said, "All right, let's go." Lin Che rolled her eyes, looking in amazement at this effortlessly good-looking man. She nodded her head infatuatedly, caught up with him, and said, "Yes, yes, yes. Let's go, let's go." Seriously, she worried for nothing. Now it looked like she did not need to worry at all. Since he suited carrying the baby so well, she could just leave it to him the next time they hit the streets. She sighed as her eyes fixated on him. All the way until they were outside. Mu Feiren and Black Eagle walked out together. Black Eagle even carried the Happy Union on his shoulders. Black Eagle immediately saw that Gu Jingze was actually carrying the baby. He was inevitably stunned. The way Gu Jingze carried a baby amazed people, but it must be said that it also seemed very harmonious. This image amazed Black Eagle too. A man's coolest moment was probably this moment. His strongest moment was also this moment. To be willing to put down his dominance for the woman he loved and be a qualified father for his own child. This was truly a man's greatest moment. Black Eagle sighed and tutted in his mind. What was so attractive about Lin Che that the great Gu Jingze was willing to be an obedient little man? But looking at Lin Che, he thought that it was indeed worth it too. She was his sister, after all. She was pretty, had a good figure, and most importantly, she had a great personality. Finding a beautiful woman could not compare to finding an interesting woman. Meanwhile, Lin Che was both a pretty and interesting woman. No wonder Gu Jingze clung to her so much and treated her so well. The group set off. When they were outside, they were greeted with the scenery. At the beach, Lin Che and Mu Feiren went to change into their bathing suits. Mu Feiren smiled and looked at Lin Che. She said, "Your figure really does not look like you just gave birth recently." Lin Che asked, "Really? I think my belly is still a little empty." "Your skin is not loose nor does it look stretched at all. When I had union, it took a long time for my belly to recover." Sigh, "You're still young, after all." Mu Feiren was only a little older than her, but the difference was obvious. Lin Che said, "I'm not young at all. You can still pass off acting as a 16-year-old girl. Don't call me young." "Of course. I am amazed at your skin. It's like porcelain, so compact. Hee. Gu Jingze is one lucky guy." Chapter 1162 What a Love Sage. Mu Feiren nudged her. She even put her hands on her and touched her all over. "Hey, you." Lin Che also touched Mu Feiren all over. Mu Feiren's skin was soft and smooth. She had maintained her skin's condition so well that it was dewy. Mu Feiren bashfully shied away from her. Lin Che showed an exasperated expression. "Good lord, what a waste. A body as good as yours should be slept with. If I were a man, I definitely wouldn't let you off. It's a pity that my numerous methods of flirting with women are useless. Why did I have to be a woman?" "I can't believe you," Mu Feiren shouted and hastily pulled back. "Oh no, a lesbian is trying to get with me." The two of them chattered noisily and smiled while walking out. They were accompanied by joyous laughter that sounded like silver bells. The people outside watched Lin Che and Mu Feiren walk inside while laughing noisily like young girls. Lin Che was dressed in an orange swimsuit. The tube top above and the swim shorts below were simple and stylish, but they accentuated her soft and white skin even more. In reality, orange was not a color that just anyone could pull off. But it seemed as if every piece of clothing could find its own place on her body. Any color, whatever it was, could be used to accentuate her beauty. Gu Jingze looked at her with narrowed eyes. His attention was completely focused on her alone. However, he did not notice that beside him, Black Hawk had turned his eyes to fix on someone else. Mu Feiren. It was his very first time seeing Mu Feiren this way. It momentarily made him forget how he had spent a night with her in a daze. That night, everything had been slightly blurry to him, so he did not remember anything at all. Now that he was seeing her again, he averted his gaze and turned to look at Lin Che instead. Since she was his own younger sister, of course, she looked pleasing to the eye no matter how he looked at her. Before he had found out, he loathed her so much that it was difficult to look at her. Everyone said that she was a celebrity, but it had nothing to do with him too. However, the moment he found out that she was actually his younger sister, everything changed. She was pleasing to the eye in every way. He said, puffed. Gu Jingze, tell me. How did you get so lucky that you could marry my younger sister? Gu Jingze glared at him. But when Gu Jingze looked at her, Gu Jingze's gaze also softened considerably. Because God knows that no one but I can protect such beauty, so he allowed me the chance to meet her. What the hell? Black Hawk nearly spluttered. Was this Gu Jingze? It was unexpected. This fellow looked so cold, but he was so shameless when it came to speaking words of love. It created such a sour taste in his mouth that his teeth were about to drop. No wonder he had Lin Che in the palm of his hand. But it seemed that Lin Che also had a firm hold over Gu Jingze. That was why he had changed so significantly. Back then, if people knew that Gu Jingze was so protective of and loving towards his wife, Lin Che would probably have become the #1 prey of those hunters a long time ago. However, Gu Jingze had kept Lin Che protected way too well. Lin Che kept such a low profile that it seemed as if she had no connection to Gu Jingze at all. This kept her much safer instead. By this time, Gu Jingze had already stood up and approached her. He stood beside Lin Che and said, "Come on. Let's go and play in the water." As for Black Hawk, he had already come to Mu Feiren's side now. "Aren't you going into the water?" Mu Feiren looked at him and asked while smiling. Black Hawk looked her up and down. Under his dark gaze, Mu Feiren felt as if she was heating up slightly. She wanted to shrink away from his gaze. But she was unable to hide from it. Black Hawk glanced at her. He staggered before looking straight ahead and saying, "Let's go in." "Won't you? We don't have to take the trouble to change our clothes." Huh. While saying this, Black Hawk tugged his shirt open directly. Mu Feiren's words immediately got stuck in her throat. She merely looked at Black Hawk. He slightly pulled off the casual blue shirt he was wearing. Then, he pulled it over his head cleanly and threw it on the chair beside him. He was not wearing anything inside. His scarred body was naked under the sunlight. He then proceeded to unbuckle his leather belt below. With his hand holding the buckle, he said, "I already wore it inside before coming here." Was he doing this on purpose? Acting out a show of undressing himself and tempting her here? Mu Feiren watched him tug at his pants with one hand. After that, he moved his casual pants bit by bit. Lin Che looked at the V-lines on his body, watching as they were revealed little by little. No. What exactly was she looking at? He swiftly pulled it to the very bottom before smiling faintly. He also stepped on his pants and turned to look at Mu Feiren. When he raised his eyebrows, his steely gaze had a hint of daunting pride. She immediately felt her face turn even redder. Mu Feiren looked at him. For a moment, she didn't dare to look at him closely. She wanted to quickly put some distance between them, but she did not expect to hear Black Hawk say, "Hey, wait a bit." Huh. Mu Feiren looked at him in astonishment. Black Hawk suddenly leaned in close. His masculine aura and the heat that only men possessed immediately came close to her. Mu Feiren only felt his face suddenly move closer to hers. It was as if his lips were going to press against her face. She was so shocked that she hastily shut her eyes. She could only feel his scent lingering about her nose. But at the same time, he had not actually pressed himself to her. She froze but heard his warm voice surrounding her ear softly. "There is something in your hair." Then, her hair moved when he pulled something off it. So this was why. She immediately opened her eyes only to see that he was looking at her teasingly. For a moment, Mu Feiren only felt her face burn up as if it was about to explode. More embarrassingly, when she opened her eyes, she saw none other than one of the 2 red spots on his chest. His chest muscles were huge, but this did not affect the brilliance of the 2 red spots on them. It seemed as if she was going to touch it if she moved again. It was too suggestive. Not daring to even glance at him again, she said directly, "I'm going out." As she said this, she ran straight into the water. "Hey," he called out. But he could not stop her in time. Mu Feiren jumped into the water with a splash. As the water spread around her, her body seemed to feel a little better. However, she had not gotten used to it and the waves were too big. soon. The rushing waves caused the swimsuit on her body to drop. Ah! Mu Feiren let out a cry of alarm and hastily grabbed it. Just then, with a plop, water splashed everywhere. Black Hawk, who had heard her cry for help, had already jumped straight into the water. He caused a splash as he swam towards her with smooth and dashing actions. He appeared directly in front of Mu Feiren. What's going on? He lifted Mu Feiren in one swift motion. He looked down only to see two gleaming lumps of flesh floating in the water. His eyes heated up. He immediately understood what was happening. When he turned around, there were still people on the shore looking over here curiously. He immediately blocked Mu Feiren from view. Then, he turned around and shouted loudly at the people on the shore, "Whoever dares to look again even one more glance, I'll dig out your eyes." Chapter 1163 I'll dig out the eyes of anyone who dares to look. Seeing this, the people on the shore sighed briefly, saying that they were merely taking a look. He did not have to be so fierce. Furthermore, they had not clearly seen exactly what was happening over here. But everyone was still very curious. After all, they had heard a woman shout. But now, they could only see the lithe figure of a woman leaning on a man. Her soft skin had been soaked in seawater and appeared even more tender and supple. As for the man's sturdy body, it looked extremely valiant too. He held the woman in the seawater just like that. He did not look at all flustered and was calm and steady. However, Black Hawk turned and saw that everyone was still looking over here. His gaze hardened. A chill emanated from his initially calm eyes. It was like a fine, cold piece of metal that whizzed by icily, causing everyone's heads to turn instinctively. The next moment, their hearts instinctively turned cold. It was as if they had seen a deathly still killing intent in his eyes. This was Black Hawk after regaining his harshness. Of course, he behaved differently than he usually did towards Mu Feiren and Lin Che. Mu Feiren had clearly realized it too. As she looked at him now, she could not help but think that this was the Black Hawk whom everyone feared immensely. However, he was not at all scary when he was with them. Black Hawk only regained a bit of his original expression when he saw everyone turn their heads away. He embraced Mu Feiren and said, "Don't worry. No one is looking." Mu Feiren felt very safe with him blocking her completely. She was not at all worried that something would happen either, but she suddenly remembered something at the same time she let out a breath of relief. She looked down only to see the nipple covers on her chest had pretty much fallen off completely. Her entire chest was simply pressed against his naked body. The feeling of skin against skin was still different from physical contact with clothes on. It felt hot, with a bit of thrill. It made her feel as if she had been electrified all of a sudden and sparks even started emanating from the depths of her eyes. Mu Feiren let out another hoarse cry while her arms immediately released their hold on his shoulders. With a splash, she fell into the water again. This time, a few mouthfuls of seawater went straight into her stomach. It made her choke to the point where she could not stop coughing. Mu Feiren cried out in alarm and Black Hawk hastily pulled her out of the water in one swift motion. This time, Mu Feiren could no longer let out any sound. She could only instinctively cling onto his neck with all her might. Her complexion turned purple and she coughed violently as if she could not breathe. Black Hawk's expression turned solemn. "Come, I'll take you to the infirmary." Mu Feiren could not even nod. She could only keep coughing. Black Hawk cast a stern gaze at the people on the shore who were still curiously looking at them. "Someone come and chase all these people away. Don't leave a single person here. If anyone's eyes are open, dig them all out." Black Hawk commanded harshly. At the side, his men collectively turned their heads away. Before they noticed that anyone had their eyes open, they had all run away quickly. When they saw that Black Hawk had so many people with him, no one dared to be impudent. All of them put their curiosity in check and frantically walked off. Although they were curious and did not know who these people having such fun here were, their eyes were, nevertheless, more important. Lin Che and Gu Jingze quickly realized that something had happened here. However, Lin Che was about to go over when Gu Jingze suddenly pulled her back. "Wait a bit." Gu Jingze held Lin Che back and indicated to her with his eyes to let them leave first. Only then did Lin Che notice that Black Hawk was carrying Mu Farron bridal style. As for Mu Farron's clothes, they were drooping downwards. As her back was facing them, of course, they could not see what exactly had happened to Mu Farron. But Lin Che had changed her clothes together with Mu Farron earlier. Thinking back on it, she knew that Mu Farron's swimsuit had fallen off. Which meant that right now, the two of them. Lin Che's face turned red. She shouted, "Oh no, Black Hawk is really." Gu Jingze said, "It looks like they went to the infirmary. We'll go and visit them later." Hee, sure. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze, who was carrying their child. His eyes were so astute. As expected of Gu Jingze. In the infirmary. Black Hawk shouted bluntly, "All the male doctors, get out. Female doctors stay behind." The people in the room froze first. They saw Mu Farron being carried in. They then looked at Black Hawk's expression and immediately walked out in a hurry. The female doctors left behind were trembling with fear. They looked at Black Hawk blankly. Black Hawk put her down. When no one came over after a long time, he looked up and shouted angrily, "What are you looking at? Why aren't you attending to her?" At this, the doctors trembled and quickly rushed over. "Miss, how are you doing? Miss, move your hands aside and let me see." Mu Farron was covering her face and did not want anyone to see her at all. Good lord, what exactly had she done? She had merely briefly seen Mo Jinyan without his clothes. Why had she ended up at the infirmary after such a ruckus? Was she really that thirsty? Upon seeing him take off his clothes, she instinctively blushed and her heart pounded. She could not control herself. But now that she thought about it, her heart pounded even more thunderously. Sensing that the doctor was even more worried, she uncovered her eyes and looked at the doctor. I'm fine. I just choked. My throat hurts a little." The doctor hastily said, "Then, let me take a look." In the end, after checking, the doctor saw that it was true that she had merely choked. At this, the doctor let out a breath of relief. Black Hawk was still looking at her. After getting dressed, she lay there with her entire body suffused with red. He stood there and watched, instinctively thinking of what had happened earlier, when her two lumps of flesh were sticking to him. He lost focus for a moment before he saw Gu Jingze and Lin Che come in. What's going on? Gu Jingze was still carrying their child. Even with the baby sling hanging on his body, he still looked handsome as always. At the side, the female doctor who had been left behind was instantly drawn to this scene. The nurse around them reacted in the same manner. She looked at him, tenderly with a love-struck expression on her face. Mu Farron was too embarrassed to say any more. She looked up and said, "I'm fine now, I just choked on some water." Lin Che's eyes darted between the two of them. Mu Farron felt even more embarrassed when she saw her suggestive expression. So scary. "Well, alright, let's leave quickly," Mu Farron shouted and frantically jumped off. Just then, the baby in Gu Jingze's arms suddenly started to cry. Lin Che froze and hastily asked, "What happened to the baby?" Gu Jingze lowered his head and coaxed the baby. The child continued to cry in spite of the rocking motion. The doctor quickly asked, "Did she urinate?" Lin Che said, "That's possible." She went over and took the child from Gu Jingze. Seeing the situation, the doctor and the nurse quickly came over to help out. They also wanted to use the chance to take a good look at Gu Jingze. Good gracious, they found Gu Jingze even more handsome when they saw him at such a close range. He was literally so flawlessly handsome. He looked handsome from every angle. Lin Che was very fast at changing diapers. When she saw that the child had actually urinated, she quickly changed his diapers and carried him. Seeing this, Gu Jingze took the child from her again. "Let me do it." At this, hearts were shooting out of the doctor's and nurse's eyes. What a loving father. Chapter 1164. Do you still love me even though there are so many other young beauties? The nurse's eyes shone as she looked at Gu Jingze. She kept looking in his direction. Her youthful gaze was filled with admiration. Lin Che thought to herself in disbelief, well then, here was another girl who was smitten with Gu Jingze. After carrying the baby properly, the two of them left. Outside, Mu Feiren remained silent all the way. Lin Che was behind, together with Gu Jingze. She looked up from time to time at Gu Jingze, who was carrying the baby. For a moment, her heart felt extremely warm. Lin Che picked up her cell phone. Turning it to him, she immediately took a photo. With a click, the camera captured his expression when he turned to look at her. The baby in his arms was adorable as always. The photo was truly beautiful. Gu Jingze frowned. "Why did you take a photo?" Lin Che said, "It was just a photo. Nothing will happen anyway." Gu Jingze quickly snatched her phone to take a look. When he saw the photo, he scowled and said, "Delete it, delete it." He was not used to taking photos. He thought that he looked weird. "No way, no way. I want to keep it." Of course, Lin Che was indignant. Gu Jingze said, "Don't keep it." "Hey, you can't be like this. I'm keeping it because I want to make it my phone background. That way, I'll be able to look at you every day." Sure enough, Gu Jingze stopped in his tracks, looked at her, and asked, "Is that so?" Lin Che nodded vigorously. She hurriedly took her phone back and started to change the settings. After changing the settings, the photo of him immediately turned into her phone background. He looked at it in appreciation before nodding and saying, "Not bad." He allowed her to keep the photo with just that. How haughty. Lin Che could not help but purse her lips in a smile while looking at him from behind. But when she looked down at her phone screen, it was indeed a very suitable photo. Facing the sunlight, it seemed that his appearance had become even more enhanced. He truly looked handsome. It was like a fresh and clean cover page photo. They handed the child to the maids during his afternoon nap time. When Lin Che walked into the room, she immediately saw Gu Jingze standing in front of the window and looking outside. He was not wearing anything on top. He looked just like a sculpture, so beautiful that every contour had an air of exquisiteness and was so smooth that not a single flaw could be seen. He was a work of art. Lin Che was temporarily a bit love-struck watching him. When he turned around, the corners of his lips turned up in a smile. "Wipe your drool away," he said. Lin Che abruptly reached out to touch her mouth. Then, she took a step in and giggled while asking, "Why? I can look at my man as I please. I can drool as I wish." She grabbed his chest with her hands and started touching him without the slightest scruple. Wow, it felt so good to the touch. She sighed to herself with an expression of self-satisfaction. Gu Jingze could not help but pull her swiftly into his arms. Their eyes met when he looked down. He looked at her and she gazed at him too. Gu Jingze's low voice had unadulterated hoarseness to it. "You're playing with fire." After that, he tightened his hold around her chest forcefully. She let out a whine. He bit her lip hard and immediately pushed her onto the bed. He had been trying his very best to suppress his desires for a long time as he did not want to hurt her. However, how could he still care right now? Right now, his body was already like a beast that had broken free of its cage. It only wanted to tear what was in front of him into pieces. Tear it into pieces. However, he stopped for a moment before he had broken through the last layer. He propped himself up and looked at the tender and beautiful flower beneath him, unable to stop panting. "Does it hurt?" He was still worried. Lin Che shook her head while blushing. Her body was already moist with a sheen of sweat. She looked at him. "It's not that you don't dare to, is it because you don't want to?" He pecked her on the lips. "I don't dare to." In reality, she felt an uneasy little inside. She looked at him and recalled the day she had given birth. He had personally delivered the baby. That must have felt very unfamiliar to him. But he had also seen that most terrifying scene. She was worried that he would not like her and that he would feel uncomfortable after having witnessed it. That he would no longer desire her. When he was faced with her body, wouldn't he think about what he had seen that day? Lin Che said a little despondently, "I heard that if a man goes into the delivery room, in the future, he wouldn't want the woman anymore." Why? He frowned in confusion. Probably because he finds it very scary. "Yes, it's very scary, that's why I don't dare to do it. I'm afraid of hurting you." He had one hand on the bed and his other hand was stroking her hair. He looked at her tenderly. For some reason, he felt that she was very fragile, as if she would break with one touch. Lin Che gazed at his face. But won't you feel a lack of desire for me? Why? His brow furrowed even more. She said, because there are so many beautiful women and so many beautiful bodies, so many fair and supple young beauties. He was a person of such high status. If he wanted, beautiful women like the doctors and nurses they saw today would be rushing towards him. But she was someone who had given birth to his 2 children. There were times when she did not feel confident in herself and would wonder if she had turned ugly. Gu Jingze was even more unhappy. He pressed his finger against her mouth, looked at her, and said, I won't allow you to say that again. Lin Che looked at him. He gazed at her body. He pressed his lips to her body and moved them downwards bit by bit. His lips and teeth lingered on her body, leaving behind some marks. Sensing her wanton gasps, he was even more forceful. He traced her soft and supple body, leaving behind a moist trail. You have never been aware of how beautiful you actually are. He sighed while lustfully sucking on her skin. She involuntarily sighed and her body shivered. He said, no one is more beautiful than you. His voice lingered in her ears like pleasant-sounding hypnosis. She felt more and more intoxicated. After seeing you, there's no better scenery in this world. You've never seen yourself. That's why you don't know. Finally, he suddenly made the deepest region of her body moist. She was so shocked that she let out a cry. But he did not let go of her and continued to invade all of his senses. Romantic words said on the bed were really captivating beyond compare. But Gu Jingze was saying what was inside his heart. This was what he thought when he looked at her. She was so pretty and so beautiful. She was like an abyss, there was no getting out once he had fallen in. Whether it was the beautiful woman on the cover page or the beautiful woman on the beach, he felt that none of them could compare to Lin Che. They could not compare to Lin Che. No one could compare to Lin Che. Because this body was truly too beautiful. He felt that he definitely would not get sick of it even if he looked at it for the rest of his life. The room was filled with love. Meanwhile, outside. Because Mu Feiren was blushing, she sat there looking at the waves. Just then, a few people walked over to her. They were probably Sea Nation citizens because they immediately recognized Mu Feiren upon seeing her. That's Mu Feiren, right? Looks like her. Hey, she's here alone. We're in luck, let's go and take a look. Chapter 1165 I didn't kill anyone, I didn't kill anyone. Mu Feiren sat there. A few men who were wearing swimming shorts and nothing on top approached her directly. They surrounded Mu Feiren and looked at her. Hey, I think it really is Mu Feiren. Hey, I can't believe we actually met a celebrity here. Mu Feiren stood up. She felt slightly uncomfortable looking at these half-naked men. Thus, she smiled and tried to leave. The men immediately caught up with her. Mu Feiren, don't run away. Why, can't we take a photo together now that we've met you? Mu Feiren smiled. She looked at the men and said, I'm not in a position to do that. Let's take a photo when we meet the next time. What her words meant was very clear. When she looked them up and down and said these words, she meant that they could take a proper photo when they were dressed. Seeing this, they chuckled and said, it's fine. It's just a photo. Exactly. Don't you celebrities often expose your skin for no reason? Yes, you even go naked in front of the photographers. Do you still care about other people when they are naked? Why don't you go naked for a change too? Mu Feiren's face darkened. She was slightly upset. She looked at the grown men. She knew that nothing good could come out of interacting with them. Thus, she wanted to just keep a low profile, smile, and walk away. Perhaps they would feel embarrassed if they were alone and simply walk away. However, since they were in such a large group, they gave each other courage. All of them were instantly bold enough to start teasing her. As if anyone who got cold feet now was a coward and should feel ashamed. Hey, don't run away. Let's take a photo. If not, shaking hands is fine too. Precisely. Look at us. Every one of us is strong and sturdy. Aren't you going to give us a try? Ha 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 ha. They continued to mess around as if they were having a lot of fun. However, Mu Feiren was not at all amused upon being teased. She simply felt that they were very disrespectful. They teased other people and treated them as toys and the butt of their jokes. But they were not aware of the situation and continued to walk ahead and chase after her. At the end of her patience, Mu Feiren said, "You guys are too much. Sorry, I'm not interested. Move aside. I'm leaving now." While saying this, Mu Feiren pushed one of them aside and ran out. Oh no, she ran away. Let's go after her. Help me catch her. I'll give you guys huge red packets if you manage to catch her. They immediately laughed and messed around even more. They seemed to treat it as a joke and ran after her. Mu Feiren had not gotten far when they caught up with her. They grabbed her arm and suddenly pulled her down to the ground. After dragging her to the bottom of the stairs, they looked at that man. "We caught her. Go ahead." "Oh no, you don't dare to do it, right? Go, I'll give you a huge red packet if you do it." Seeing that so many people were instigating him, he would feel embarrassed if he shrank back. He felt that shrinking back would be akin to admitting defeat. He looked at her before looking around him. He gave himself a pep talk, telling himself, "If I die, I die. If I die under a skirt, I can still flirt as a ghost." Thereafter, he shouted, "Damn it, I'll just do it." Then, he pushed up his sleeves and immediately pounced on her. The men around him seemed to think that this was not illegal at all. They even cheered him on as he did this. Sensing the situation, Mu Feiren felt slight despair for a moment. She looked around her and frantically pushed away the man who had pounced on her. But with her frame, she would not be able to win against a man no matter what. As a result, she momentarily felt that she could not flip her body over because of the heavy man pressing down on her. In her moment of emergency, she got anxious and turned around to grab something. Then, she smashed it on the man's head. Ah, the back of the man's head was hit directly by the rock. The man's face contorted briefly. He immediately shouted and stood up. He turned around and reached out to touch his head. Blood, blood. After shouting, he collapsed onto the ground with a thud. The men were instantly stunned. They were in a daze for a long time before someone gathered the courage to reach out and check if he was breathing. Ah, he's not breathing. He's dead. Murder, murder. They immediately started yelling while Mu Feiren looked down at the man before looking at the blood-stained rock in her hand. There were even remnants on the stone. It was obvious that the wound she had caused was indeed very deep. The rock in her hand fell to the ground and her heart was instantly shrouded in darkness. Murder. She had killed someone. She crawled up and backed away. Seeing this, the men thought that Mu Feiren was about to escape and immediately shouted menacingly, "Forget about running away. Quick, seize her, she's the one who killed him." They approached her together, disregarding Mu Feiren's cries of, "It wasn't me. It wasn't me." However, they still dragged her out to the police station. Meanwhile, Mu Feiren's mind was completely blank now. She was at a total loss as to what was happening to her. Her face was filled with fear all the way to the police station. There was no other emotion on her face. When the police asked her questions, she totally did not know what she should say either. She merely sat there, deathly pale, and shook her head. Had she killed someone? Had she really killed someone? In all her years of existence, it was the first time she had encountered such a terrifying thing. The police officer looked at Mu Feiren. Since she was from another country, it was not appropriate for him to question her further. He could only wait for the staff from C Nation's embassy to come over. Their island was part of M Nation. It was a small nation after all and was not as powerful as C Nation. Thus, they were immensely fearful of C Nation and did not dare to be too harsh on their citizens, lest C Nation come looking for trouble. Sometimes, you could actually tell if a country was powerful or not from seeing whether its citizens were respected by other countries outside. The police officer said, "You're not telling us exactly what happened and how you killed him." Mu Feiren proceeded to shake her head. "It's not me. I didn't kill anyone. But the forensic investigator already went there. The person is indeed dead." Mu Feiren trembled all over. "No, I didn't kill anyone." Outside, the police officers were also questioning the other people. Of course, they insisted that Mu Feiren had done the deed. They definitely would not say that they had instigated the man to go and take liberties with Mu Feiren. He was about to rape her, that was why she retaliated in defense and killed him by accident. None of them felt guilty at all. They did not think that this had anything to do with them. Perhaps they knew it in their hearts. However, although they had not conspired beforehand, from their speech all of them had completely forgotten about the rape incident. It was as if they had been passing by when Mu Feiren went mad and immediately wanted to kill someone. Quick, settle this for us. My point exactly. He died. All of us saw it. Aren't you going to put her in prison? They discussed amongst themselves. The police officer said, all of you are C-Nation citizens. I have to wait for embassy staff to come before I can deal with this. Thus, they discussed what they should do. When the embassy staff come and see that she's a celebrity, they won't let her disclaim responsibility, right? Of course not. We came here together. How will we tell his family once we're back? Mu Feiren is the one who needs to apologize, if at all. She's no doubt the person who killed him. What has it got to do with us? This was an accident. She won't deny it either. We were all watching. There were so many witnesses present, and she's a celebrity. If we blow the matter up, she's done for too. Chapter 1166 I'm the actual devil. That's right. When the time comes, we'll just blow up the matter and see what she'll do about it. Meanwhile, the people from the embassy were still on their way. Mu Feiren sat there blankly without saying a word. The earlier scene seemed to be replaying in her mind. She had killed someone. At this moment, outside, someone had barged into the police station out of the blue. Hey, who's there? Who came in? Who are you? This is the police station. You can't casually come in. Hey, that place is even more off limits. The moment he heard that something had happened to Mu Feiren, Black Hawk instructed his men to look after Union. He himself quickly rushed over first. Mu Feiren had been avoiding him the entire afternoon. Later, he took Union somewhere else to play. Mu Feiren said that she was going to walk around and look at the scenery. He did not know where she had gone afterward. No one could have expected his men to come over shortly after and inform him that something had happened to Mu Feiren. She was at the police station. Black Hawk looked at the person who had approached him. He glared at him like a cheetah in the dark night. His sharp gaze made the person tremble in fear. He dealt him a kick. Damn you. After letting out a curse, he ran inside directly. Good lord, someone barged into the police station. Get your guns out. Attack. They held their guns and rushed in together. However, Black Hawk ignored all of them. He kicked the door open and headed straight into the interrogation room. He immediately saw Mu Feiren sitting on the chair despondently. He walked towards her and first pulled her into his embrace swiftly. He stood there and placed her head against his own body. Then, he lowered his head and looked at her. Everything is all right. Everything is all right. Don't worry. I'm here. Mu Feiren raised her head blankly. She looked at Black Hawk and froze. I killed someone. After saying this, she could no longer control herself and immediately broke into tears. Black Hawk frowned. He enveloped her in his arms and let her cry as much as she wanted to. She did not even care that her tears had dampened his clothes. She only wanted to lean against him and cry her heart out. Just then, the police officers had already raised their guns collectively and pointed them at the two people locked in an embrace. Until Mu Feiren was done crying and looked up only to see this scene. Behind them, a few people surrounded them with their guns raised. The gun barrels were aimed directly at the two of them. Her face turned pale from fear. She looked at Black Hawk. What? Black Hawk turned his head and glanced at them. He continued to hug her head and pressed her closer to his body. He was standing while she was sitting. Her head happened to be leaning on his abdomen. His abdomen was not soft. It was covered completely in his sturdy abdominal muscles. Each muscle was clearly defined. She felt at ease leaning against him. But her heart nevertheless beat rapidly when she saw the numerous guns. She quickly said, "Stop what you're doing. I killed him. Why are you pointing your guns at him?" One of the police officers continued looking inside with his gun raised. "By barging into the police station, are you trying to help the convict escape? Come over here, otherwise, we'll shoot." You even dare to attack police officers. Put your hands down and stay down. With these sentences, Mu Feiren immediately understood what had happened. She looked up at Black Hawk. You. Black Hawk only glanced at the people behind him out of the corners of his eyes. His gaze was cold and there was a desolate chill to it. Ignore them, he said bitingly. How could Mu Feiren actually ignore them? But you guys. It's fine, alright, don't worry, tell me exactly what happened. Mu Feiren had killed someone. That was impossible. Unless there was another reason. Thus, Mu Feiren stammered as she recounted what had happened. She brought up how they had tried to take liberties with her. There was also fear on her expression. When she recalled that person's dead body, the expression on her face worsened. Upon hearing this, Black Hawk's eyes narrowed wickedly. The color of danger spread to the tip of his brow. He asked, "Did they make a pass at you?" Mu Feiren said, "They're just ordinary tourists. But I killed someone." "No, they're ordinary people with bad intentions. You didn't kill anyone, Feiren. Since he dared to treat you this way, he deserved to die." "No, no, no. I shouldn't have killed him." Mu Feiren covered her face in agony. Black Hawk pulled her hands towards him quickly. With his tall height, he crouched down. He was face to face with her and looked at her. "If what you did is considered killing someone, then what would you consider me?" Mu Feiren looked at him. His gaze was so pure. For a moment, she felt as if she nearly forgot to breathe. Black Hawk said, "Silly girl. You didn't kill anyone, it was an accident. The fresh blood that stained my hands is much greater than the blood on your hands. Even if heaven wants to punish anyone, someone like me would be the first to be punished anyway. Not you." "No, you won't be punished." There was a sudden pain in Mu Feiren's heart. He had even said this about himself in order to console her. Black Hawk sneered with a strong overtone of self-mockery. "I know what kind of person I am. I never thought that I would meet a good end. But not you. You're a good person, Feiren, nothing will happen to you. What you did wasn't evil. You didn't do it on purpose. Heaven will not blame you. He has so many heinous people to punish. It will never be your turn. As for me, I did it on purpose. Each time I killed someone, I killed them directly. Sometimes, I would not only kill them, I would even torture them until they had cuts and bruises all over. I'm the one who will go to hell. But you will not. You think that what you did is already very evil, but it's not. You still haven't seen a world with such evil." Mu Feiren looked at him with wide eyes. Meanwhile, all the police officers behind them a little flabbergasted. What was this person saying? They had heard every word of it. Was this person confessing directly that he had killed someone? And he had killed many people. They had never seen this person on a wanted list or something. However, someone who had the guts to go to a police station and say that he had killed someone was either a lunatic or an actual dangerous criminal. It definitely did not seem that he was here to turn himself over. He could be joking around here deliberately to comfort her. But he had gone slightly overboard with this joke. They were still watching him when someone outside said that the embassy staff was here. They were still holding their guns up, not daring to move. The embassy staff came in only to see Mr. Mo. They hastily walked towards him. Because they had heard that it was someone famous, the embassy treated this matter more seriously too. They were worried that this would turn into a huge headline, so the people who had come were officials in pretty high positions. When they saw Black Hawk, all of them knew who he was. After all, back then, Black Hawk had been the most wanted criminal in C Nation. This meant that he was absolutely prohibited from entering C Nation. Every border imposed restrictions on him. They had to chase him away upon seeing him. He was not allowed to enter. Later on, he could enter only because of a decree from the president, allowing him to enter. The customs authorities, the immigration bureau, and the embassy all had photos of a major wanted criminal like him. Black Hawk turned around and said, "Enough. Handle this. I'll let you deal with the people outside as well." As Black Hawk was here, the embassy staff didn't dare to say a word. They could only reply, "Sure, yes, Mr. Mo, don't worry. We will get to the bottom of things and we will definitely account for you. In that case, I'll take her with me first." "Yes, yes, yes." Chapter 1167 They kissed just because of this. Black Hawk brought Mu Farron out of the room. The police officers put down their guns one after another. What? He just admitted that he killed someone, do you not care? One of them asked. Someone from the embassy said, he has killed countless people. We can't interfere, he's Black Hawk. The police officers were stunned at the mention of the name. Many people had indeed died at the hands of Black Hawk. But putting aside the fact that they could not interfere, M-Nation could not interfere with such national affairs either. No wonder this man did not even flinch when he saw so many guns aimed at him earlier. These guns were nothing to him. When they arrived outside, Mu Farron was still shivering in fear. Black Hawk looked at her. Come on, I'll take you somewhere to shower first. No, Mu Farron yanked Black Hawk towards her. She looked at him with her eyes darting about uneasily. Black Hawk's brow furrowed severely. He said gravely, I guarantee that his family members will have nothing to worry about. They will receive commensurate compensation. It will even be much higher than the compensation normally given. As for the other guys who were with him, each and every one of them will come to no good end either. As for you, stop thinking about it. Mu Farron bit her lip. Black Hawk asked, just what? I just feel that you didn't have to tell me so much. She gazed into his deep eyes and could not believe that he had talked about himself like that earlier. He squinted his eyes. There was a slightly misty air about his face as if the years had been harsh to him. The events of the past had completely turned into marks etched onto his face and heart. Since they were dead, they would not affect his emotions at all. How many showers of fresh blood had he experienced for his heart to get so hard? For a moment, she felt that he was actually having a very tough time. It was very difficult to be the Black Hawk whom everyone feared. He gazed at her. But I wanted to tell you. Mu Farron's heart jolted. His thin lips trembled as he looked into her eyes. Are you afraid? Afraid, not afraid. She had none of these emotions. She merely felt a little touched that he had said those words earlier to lessen the guilt she felt. She shook her head. I'm not afraid. He smiled. It's all right, even if you are. Any normal person would be afraid. But she really wasn't afraid. He was already willing to do so much for her. How could she be afraid? Upon seeing that Black Hawk was about to turn around, she grabbed his arm in one swift motion. She was still trembling when she pulled his sleeve. But this time, it wasn't because she was scared. But because. She quietly lifted her eyes to look at him. She looked into the depths of his eyes with her rippling gaze. She had never been good at expressing herself. She was always passive. Even when she was with Mo Ding, she had passively been confessed to. She had never said she liked him or that she loved him because she tended to get shy easily. But the man in front of her had lifted the restraints on her heart countless times, to the point where she seemed to be head over heels in love. She had never thought that a man like this could exist on earth. She could not stop her heart from pounding. It was as if she had gone back in time to her younger days. She bit her lip. She knew that a significant number of people would feel this way. Countless women wanted to chain him down too. She could be but one insignificant person among them. But she nevertheless wanted to express her feelings right now. Biting her lip, she moved forward and pressed her lips directly on his. So forward. Black Hawk did not move at first. For a moment, she felt so bashful that she wanted to burrow into the ground and remain there. She was just about to move her lips away when she felt. At last, he swiftly put his arms around her shoulders and transformed passivity into action. He then returned her kiss with vigor. He was so dominant. Mu Farron felt that she was nearly unable to breathe. When Gu Jingze rushed over with Lin Che. Gu Jingze caught sight of them immediately from a distance. He stopped Lin Che with one arm and said, "We don't have to go over now." Lin Che froze. What happened? She raised her head to take a look only to notice the two people hugging in front of her. No way. Didn't they say that something had happened? Why? Was this what had happened? Just then, Gu Jingze said from beside her, "It looks like the problem has been resolved." All right then, she was no longer needed. It made sense too. It was only logical that Black Hawk had a lot of experience dealing with such matters. But they had kissed just because of this. Lin Che asked, so, are they together now? Gu Jingze said, it seems like you don't need to feel anxious on Black Hawk's behalf either. He's quite good at making steady progress. Lin Che sighed, I guess. She looked at Gu Jingze. Little guy, your eyes are quite useful. Gu Jingze said, of course, they're more useful than yours. Silly girl, you can't see anything. Indeed, she could not see anything at all. When she was by his side, she consciously blocked all her senses. She could not be bothered to use her eyes since he would see it anyway. She was truly going to be spoilt rotten by him. She felt that she did not have to do anything when she was beside him and that someone would help her do everything. When Mu Feiren returned with Black Hawk said directly, stay here tonight. At this moment, Lin Che came out from behind them. What the hell, you're so direct, I don't think you should. You guys just kissed and you're already thinking of moving to the next stage. Mu Feiren was shocked once again. What did she mean by the next stage? What did she mean by them having just kissed? Could it be that she had seen everything that had happened earlier? Black Hawk's face darkened immediately. She just got into trouble today. I'm afraid that something will happen to her tonight, so I want to look after her closely. He looked at Lin Che disdainfully. Seriously, did she think that everyone was as dirty-minded as she was? Lin Che understood this clearly, but she nevertheless teased him and said, yes, yes. That's right, it's better to be a bit closer. It would be best if you watched her sleep. She's very timid. Mu Feiren quickly glared at her. She secretly pinched her on the waist from behind. Lin Che let out a cry and frantically dodged her. Seeing that Mu Feiren was in a much better condition, she smiled and said, it looks like Black Hawk is the one who knows what to do. You seem much better now. Mu Feiren's face turned red. Lin Che said to Mu Feiren, all right. Don't think too much. Let's look forward. You still have Union. You won't think about anything after looking at Union, right? Yes, she still had Union. She had no choice but to be strong. She said, you don't have to worry about me. I will start adjusting my mindset. Lin Che said, I can understand how you feel. But think about it. If you didn't do it, what would have happened to you? Would you have wanted to be in such an event? Or would you rather kill him? Mu Feiren thought about him defiling her. No, she would not want something like that to happen even if she died. She shook her head vigorously and said to Lin Che, I know. Lin Che said, I've killed someone before too. I know that you have to adjust yourself. But sometimes, we do it because we have no choice. She hugged Mu Feiren. Mu Feiren leaned into her embrace. We had no choice. I know. Lin Che said, it's all because we're in this position. Where we are, we have to sacrifice a lot. But even so, I still want to be with Gu Jingze and live a peaceful life with the people around me. If I had to choose one person, I would choose the person by my side. So I can only accept the consequences that this choice brings. Chapter 1168 Love is dangerous to begin with. Although her situation was different, Mu Feiren understood it too. Her identity meant that she was destined to be different from ordinary people. As a public figure, she had to undertake many risks. She had known this since a long time ago. But she had chosen to be a celebrity, so she could only accept this. Nodding her head, she said, I understand, Lin Che. Thank you. If you're grateful then, give me your heart. Lin Che smiled. Mu Feiren pouted, but you already have a man. I mean, pledge to marry my brother and become my sister-in-law. Mu Feiren shut her mouth again. She no longer wanted to bother with her at all. Of course, the two of them stayed together that night. But would something happen? Lin Che looked forward to it quite a bit, but she also felt that this was enough. It was good enough that the two of them were able to support each other in times of difficulty. That night, Lin Che lay there with Gu Jingze sitting beside her and peeling tangerines for her. Lin Che ate a piece of tangerine and mumbled to herself, it looks like Feiren is probably fine as well. She's actually quite a strong person. When she had previously been alone abroad, she was still completely fine despite being bullied so terribly by Mo Ding. Gu Jingze recalled this before remembering that Lin Che had also shot someone before. He looked at Lin Che. When you fired a shot that time, were you scared? Lin Che looked straight ahead. How could she not be afraid? But she was even more afraid of losing him. She shook her head. I definitely wouldn't dare to do it if I were alone. But at that time, I thought of others and so I wasn't scared. Gu Jingze looked at her quietly while slowly pulling her into his embrace. She said, of course, I hope that I can become more powerful. That way, I can be more at ease standing by your side. Thus, whether I run my company, make games, or do other things, I hope that I can do all of it well. That way, I can become more and more powerful. Gu Jingze kissed her briefly on her forehead. The two of them were hugging each other at the moment, but the atmosphere around them was particularly heartwarming. Gu Jingze said, by letting you stay with me, I'm also letting you be exposed to danger with me. Gu Jingze. She lifted her head and looked at him. But I'm willing to do that. Love was a dangerous thing, to begin with. But there was no way they could call it dangerous if they could control it. The vacation here had not ended yet. Thus, Yu Minmin sent her a message saying that she had found a good endorsement deal for her and reminded her to go back soon. When Lin Che returned to the company, Yu Minmin said that this endorsement deal was very hard to come by. It was a local endorsement deal for a cosmetic product. Because it was a cosmetic product from a major international brand, they usually did not look for local celebrities. But this time, they had made an exception for the first time and sought a local celebrity to endorse the product. The other party had sought her out of their own accord because they had seen scenes of Lin Che's comeback. They felt that her skin had been in such good condition for so many years. She did not have any negative news of plastic surgery. Although people previously said that she had definitely had plastic surgery, there was no proof at all. Because her face had not changed much over the years, and everything else remained the same apart from her makeup, they felt perfectly at ease too. Their chosen endorsement model would not turn ugly because of botched cosmetic surgeries. Lin Che smiled and said to Yu Minmin, you even managed to snag this endorsement deal. That's so impressive. Yu Minmin said, it's just because they chose you. I didn't do much. Don't be modest. There were so many people competing for this. You must have had a part to play in it. But the two of them had yet to relish in this when the assistant behind them said, Sister Che, there's a news article online alleging that you stole an endorsement deal belonging to a rookie. What's going on? What? Yu Minmin mumbled that this was impossible. Then, she went online to take a look. Sure enough, it was a rookie. She did not even know who she was. Her small face looked quite fresh and pure. She looked quite pretty too. On her Weibo page, she posted, forget it. Anyway, yours truly can't beat those with money and power. If I can't get an endorsement deal, then so be it. Subsequently, popular users shared her post and stated, it's suspected that Lin Che stole a major endorsement deal meant for a rookie. The rookie has been pouring out her grievances on Weibo. It's rumored that the endorsement deal is from a major international brand of luxury cosmetics YT. Lin Che had an expression of complete confusion. Baffled, she asked, who is this? I don't even know her. Yu Minmin said, it's possible that someone knew about your endorsement deal and wanted to use it to hype her up. Let me see who this tactless celebrity is. How dare she use you to bring attention to herself? Yu Minmin very quickly went to investigate. Lin Che waited in the company. Before long, the people at the company received the news. This celebrity is from a small management company. She doesn't seem to have any background or patron. She's from an ordinary family and graduated from a drama academy. To date, she has only been an extra a few times. Lin Che said, in that case, forget it. Let her sensationalize. Just give her a warning. Yu Minmin looked at her. You're so generous. Lin Che said, everyone starts out as an extra. As long as she has no malicious intentions, let her sensationalize a bit if she wants to. If she has malicious intentions, there's nothing I can do either. Alright, if she goes overboard, we'll really have to do something about her. Yu Minmin knew that Lin Che was still very magnanimous deep down. She was not that petty about such things either. Lin Che left this place and continued to browse online for fun trivial games. In a short span of time, she noticed a small game production studio called Genesis. Recently, she had been searching online for games of this type. Thus, she was momentarily attracted to the creativity and graphics in this game. Although the game was very small scale and was used to pass the time, it was really very fascinating. She browsed for some time before calling Chen Lanchen to say, "I saw a game production studio. Help me check on how good this studio is." Chen Lanchen spoke in a very languid tone. Hearing that she had gone off for vacation immediately after filming, she felt that Lin Che really did not have much enthusiasm for their jobs. She did not expect her to actually still remember. Since the boss had given the instruction, she had to execute it. Then, she asked in a relaxed manner, "Sure, Miss Lin. What studio is this?" Lin Che said, "Genesis." Chen Lanchen had never even heard of this studio. Lately, she had researched a few studios on Lin Che's instructions. However, she had genuinely never heard of this one. However, since Lin Che had said the word, she immediately said, "All right, I'll go and ask around." Lin Che played for a while more. She sincerely felt that this game was great. As for Chen Lanchen, she was, as expected, a great assistant and started investigating very soon after. In no time, she managed to find out that this studio was a private organization. It was not a company. It developed several low-budget games and had been collectively set up by a few students for fun. Seeing this, Chen Lanchen could not believe her eyes. She wondered to herself why Lin Che had found this studio for no reason. No one could have expected someone to immediately inform Genesis Studio that someone was investigating them when Chen Lanchen started to do so. The people in Genesis played together in the same university dorm. One of them was a professional hacker. He had been a freelance hacker for many years. Today, he was still well known in the professional world. But this group of people in their 20s were very cynical. The moment they heard that someone was inquiring about them, all of them scoffed at this and said, "It's probably nothing good anyway. It's likely to be another hoax." Chapter 1169. Gu Jingze is truly surrounded by concealed talent. In the past, they had often met such people. They were merely a small studio and large companies turned their noses up at them. Thus, many small-time crooks wanted to buy the game they had made for no reason. In reality, all of them wanted to buy the game and be the intermediary. They wanted to then sell the game to a huge company, buying it at a low price and selling it at a high price. Although they would also get a sum of money from selling it, they would definitely feel uncomfortable thinking about the high price of the transaction. In the past, they had fallen for it once. The racing game that they had made was sold directly by someone else for the sky-high price of tens of millions. After that, it was tremendously popular for some time. They regretted their past actions, so they categorically rejected any such intermediaries that came looking for them after that. Therefore, upon hearing about Chen Lanchen, they scoffed and did not think much of it. Crooked neck, let's hide for a bit. Let's stop all studio work for the time being. Take down all our contact details too. KG, what do you mean? Do you think they'll continue looking for us? KG was their lead hacker. Everyone listened to him. KG nodded. That's right. Get them to take it down so that no one can find us. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome. He twirled his pen briefly. Dealing with these people is the most irritating thing. Yes, to you, even speaking to people is irritating. It's not as comfortable as coding, right? All right, we understand. It was a wild goose chase for Chen Lanchen. Subsequently, everyone actually said that they could not find this studio. She immediately called Lin Che to talk about this. "Miss Lin, I can't get in touch with the studio." Lin Che asked in surprise, "What do you mean you can't get in touch? Is the studio name you gave me correct? I can't find it." Lin Che narrowed her eyes and mulled over it. "Forget it, let me do it." She opened the web page for the game and saw that all the contact details had indeed disappeared. At the moment, Gu Jingze was behind her carrying the child. Seeing that Lin Che was confused, he walked over to her and said lightly, "Clearly, they decided to hide." Lin Che froze. She turned her head and asked, "What do you mean they decided to hide?" Gu Jingze said, "The customer service page has been completely hidden. It looks like they don't want to be found." Why don't they want to be found? Isn't it good to be applauded by someone else? There are many reasons. Some of them are hackers who want to play on their own and don't want to leave their hermit mountain. Others have had bad experiences. That's so annoying. It was so difficult for me to find a game production studio that was quite good. Gu Jingze leaned in close. Actually, it's not difficult to find them either. Lin Che looked up. Is it possible? I'll get someone to help you find them. Even the best hackers can't hide every single trace. They will definitely still leave clues behind. Lin Che said, let's give it a try then. Gu Jingze picked up his phone and called Qin Hao to come over. After Qin Hao arrived, Gu Jingze told him directly about this. Qin Hao said, President Gu, it's been a long time since I did coding. When Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes, Qin Hao hastily opened his computer regardless of everything. I'll definitely try my best. You must do it, Gu Jingze said. Lin Che blinked and watched Qin Hao open his computer and look for the web page with practiced ease. She asked, Hey, isn't Qin Hao your special assistant? Qin Hao looked up and said, Madam, I played with computers when I was younger too. For real? Gu Jingze said, in his younger days, Qin Hao was the top hacker in C Nation. He went by the name of Ares. Qin Hao looked up modestly. He was so embarrassed that his face turned completely red. That's the name everyone gave me. They were flattering me. Then, Lin Che looked on as Qin Hao typed furiously away on the computer. The speed of his hands only made her eyes go blurry. The web page turned into numbers. In no time, indecipherable codes filled the entire screen. Lin Che was in complete awe inside. No wonder, no wonder. Gu Jingze did not keep idle people around him. But she did not expect Qin Hao, who looked very old-fashioned, to be so capable. It seemed that the number of talented individuals that hid around Gu Jingze was beyond her imagination. Gu Jingze merely looked on leisurely from the side. Qin Hao was busy coding while saying, Indeed. The IP address of the web page has been hidden. It looks like someone probably hid it. Can you find it? Gu Jingze asked. Well, I'll definitely be able to find it. I can tell that the other party is very capable too. They haven't noticed me yet and haven't started resisting, but in a while, they will probably hey, he noticed me. The other party had already discovered that Qin Hao was trying to gain unauthorized access. Immediately, the computer started to let out beeping sounds and the code became even messier. Qin Hao's hands moved even more quickly. While typing, he said, he is definitely in this city. His server probably isn't big. Hey, he's actually quite good. Gu Jingze asked, why? You can't catch him? No, I need a bit of time. For some reason, he thought of something and changed the code slightly. The sound of furious typing continued for some time. All of a sudden, he slapped the table. Great, I caught him. Gu Jingze asked, why? I left behind my contact details. He will probably contact me very soon. Lin Che asked, isn't he in hiding? Why would he take the initiative to contact you? I locked down his server. Lin Che said, wow, Assistant Qin, you're so amazing. Qin Hao said, dear me, I can't go on. I'm old now. I never took so long in the past. But this chap is really impressive too. I can tell that he's a newborn calf that isn't afraid of tigers. Good lord, he's quite skillful too. This. He had just been chattering away when he noticed Gu Jingze's unmoving expression. He was looking at him with his eyes half narrowed. Qin Hao immediately shut his mouth. But he's definitely not as brilliant and wise as our President Gu. Lin Che was still looking at him with immense admiration. At this precise moment, as expected, Qin Hao's phone immediately started ringing. Qin Hao instantly took the call. With the phone in hand, Crooked Neck looked at KG's eyes and said a little cautiously, who exactly are you? They could not believe that he had broken KG's code. The expression on KG's face right now spoke volumes. Qin Hao said, hello. This is your phone number, right? We have some things we want to talk about face to face with you. Face to face? Are you the ones who have been looking for us over the past few days? That's right. We have a few projects we want to discuss with you when we meet. I don't know if you're willing to agree to it. Sorry, we don't collaborate with anyone. We should meet before considering whether or not we'll collaborate. Let's meet at the cafe in the city center. We'll talk about it when you guys come. Otherwise, sorry about the server. You'll have to buy a new one. Also, I'm not sure if your future servers will be locked down too. Crooked Neck nearly cursed in anger. How arrogant. KG, what do we do? KG's eyes twitched. In the end, he nodded his head. Crooked Neck had no choice but to say, all right then. Tomorrow afternoon. No problem. Crooked Neck hung up the phone in disbelief. Then, he said to KG, so, are we really going? KG quietly went back to his own seat. I haven't seen such a powerful opponent for many years. His technique reminds me of some former experts. Is that so? Chapter 1170 Lin Che helped to solve the problem. That's right. These techniques used to be very trendy. They can completely block off the other server. Alright, then, about tomorrow. You guys go ahead first. I'll go over later. Okay. Lin Che confirmed the timing. Knowing that she could finally see her desired office contact details, she felt satisfied. She prepared to head to the company to take a look. At the company, the endorsing YT company was going to hold a signing ceremony for her. Holding a signing ceremony in front of the media could officiate the start of the contract. It was also considered a way of respecting her. The endorsement press conference was going to be simple with only a few media groups invited. Because last time, when news of the endorsement came out, the media groups quickly rushed over. They wanted to ask her what exactly that was about. After the simple signing ceremony, Lin Che was interviewed by the media. A reporter asked, I heard that a person by the name of Su Wan almost signed the endorsement contract, but was later switched out to someone else. Do you know about this rumor? Lin Che smiled and said, I only knew about it when I saw the news online, but I really have no idea. The company did the negotiations while I happily accepted it because I truly am fond of this brand. I only heard about this later on. If everyone has any questions, it's better to ask the company directly. At this time, Tai also sent a representative to speak up. The endorsement was decided after careful research and discussion by the company. We felt that Lin Che was more suited, so we had a meeting and chose Lin Che. However, some people might have mistaken things and thought that just a conversation would mean a confirmed collaboration. We've actually talked to many celebrities and ultimately decided on Lin Che. Did they mean that the small-time artist misunderstood things? That was quite a slap to the face. Lin Che did not care about these. She left after the signing ceremony. However, when she stepped outside, she heard some voices nearby. It was a woman begging. The voice was weak and sounded strange. I'm begging you. My career has only just begun. I really don't want it to end like this. Will you step aside? Another person said harshly. No, I'm not leaving. I haven't graduated and already received a warning like this. Nobody is going to want me in the future. I can't give up. Please, can you give me a chance? I posted those words on Weibo only because I was set up. Someone is trying to frame me and that is why they blew those words out of proportion. That wasn't me at all. Someone also did something behind my back. It really has nothing to do with me. Just then, Lin Che's employee called for her. Sister Che, your car has arrived. Over here. Lin Che raised her hand to motion the person to stop talking. She walked closer towards the people talking. I already told you, there is no use explaining to me. You have ruined our company's image and I don't care who is trying to frame you. Whoever it is, you deal with it yourself. But I really. That's enough. Move aside. It's busy here and I have no time to waste on you. The person who looked like a Thai employee raised his hand and signaled for his people to chase her away. Just then. Stop. Lin Che walked over. Looking like a Thai district manager, he looked at Lin Che and then calmed down. He said, Oh, Miss Lin. This is the one who claimed you stole her endorsement. Don't worry, we're also very angry that this has affected you. Thus, we're planning to send a lawyer's letter now and sue her for defamation. Su Wan suddenly looked at Lin Che and said, Lin Che, I know that this situation is messed up but I really didn't do this. Please believe me, I absolutely did not send that post. I had indeed met up with Thai's director back then, but I never had hoped that I could be the ambassador. How could I type that kind of Weibo post? Lin Che looked at the girl. She looked young, her hair was long and she was fair. She did not look like the kind that people would hate. She said, "Okay, Director Wu, you may leave first. I'd like to clarify some things about this matter. Is that all right with you?" "Oh, of course. Miss Lin is involved in this too. It's only right that you clarify things." The district manager respected Lin Che very much and graciously left the matter to Lin Che. Lin Che said, "All right. It's just the two of us here now. Tell me, what exactly is going on?" Su Wan did not expect Lin Che to suddenly be here and become willing to listen to her. She looked at the people behind Lin Che. Lin Che brought plenty of bodyguards and employees. Su Wan wondered if anything would happen to her if she said something wrong. However, she looked at Lin Che and thought that she did not seem like that kind of person. Her reputation in the circle had always been very good. Nobody really talked bad about her. Su Wan gritted her teeth. There was no turning back now, and since it had already came down to this, she might as well say it. Because I offended some other artists in the company, so they posted this on purpose. They wanted to instigate a war between me and you. They knew that you could probably crush me with one hand, and that is why they did this on purpose. Lin Che asked, "How did you offend them?" "That time at the reception, I revealed her past affair with some other guy and made her sugar daddy unhappy." Lin Che smiled and asked, "How should I believe you? Do you have proof?" "Yes, I do. Do you see the address from which the Weibo post was sent out? It is a proxy. If I posted it myself, why would I need to use a proxy IP address? My Weibo account had been hacked." Lin Che looked at it and handed it to Dong Zi. Dong Zi took a look and said, "Yes, miss. This is a proxy IP solely used by hackers." Lin Che nodded understandingly and looked at her. "All right, we'll let this matter rest. I won't look into it anymore. What is your name?" As if hearing a holy phrase, Su Wan looked at Lin Che in surprise and asked, "You're not looking into it anymore?" "Yeah, what is your name?" "I'm Su Wan." "Okay, Su Wan, you have to keep a low profile if you want to stay in this circle. Don't go around offending people anymore. All the best." She waved and walked with the rest. She did not say anything more to Su Wan. Anyway, one had to slowly learn the ropes of this path on one's own. Su Wan gazed at Lin Che. She did not expect Lin Che to help her. In that instant, she felt emotional and grateful. She was thankful that she met a gracious celebrity like Lin Che. If it were some other celebrity, she might not have an easy road in the future. Back then, Su Wan never thought that she could possibly clinch the endorsement deal. Looking at Lin Che now, she felt even more so. Why would anyone choose her over Lin Che? Lin Che's skin was flawless and natural. She was so pretty. She was very suited for this endorsement.